The 20s are a very transformative time to say the least. I know for me, it took some time to really figure myself out and figure out what I wanted to do with my money. And while I was fortunately able to figure out things pretty quickly, I would have loved if someone could have sat me down and provided me with a roadmap to show me what exactly I should be doing with my personal finances. And the sad truth is that a lot of Americans never really learn the ins and outs of personal finance. After all, most of Americans making over $100,000 a year are still stuck in the trap of living paycheck to paycheck. So to help solve this problem, in this video, I wanted to go over 6 financial goals that you should strive to accomplish by the time you turn 30. But you should also strive to hit that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on all of my latest videos. We're also trying to get to 400 subscribers, so I would really appreciate it. Thanks. All right, the first financial goal that you need to accomplish before you turn 30 is getting out of debt. And really, I'm referring to consumer debt, which is really any debt that's not a mortgage or maybe a reasonable car loan. And it's usually used to buy things that you cannot afford with your income, like vacations, high-end clothes, expensive, unreasonable cars, basically anything that stretches beyond your budget. And a lot of times, consumer debt builds because people rely on credit cards to support and fund their lifestyle. Now, here are my 2 big issues when it comes to credit cards and consumer debt. Number 1, any money that you have to use to pay off consumer debt is money that you cannot invest otherwise or put towards other financial goals. When you use your credit cards to inflate your lifestyle in the present, you're literally doing that at the expense of your future self because you're not setting yourself up financially and you're not doing any investing. You're just digging yourself into a deeper hole instead of starting the journey to actually building wealth. And the second reason I really don't like consumer debt or credit cards is because these types of loans typically have very high interest rates associated with them. They will absolutely wreck your finances. Most credit cards charge more than 20% in interest, and nowadays that number is a lot higher. So if you're not paying these credit cards off, that balance is going to start to skyrocket. Remember, compound interest works both ways. So the longer that you carry that high interest predatory debt, the deeper you fall into it. So in your 20s, avoid consumer debt at all costs, live below your means, make smart choices with your money, because trust me, no one really cares about the brands of clothes you wear or the car you drive. And if they do, probably just means you need better friends. But if you're already in consumer debt, make it a priority to get it paid off as quickly as possible. Entering your 30s with this consumer debt means that you've already wasted a decade of your life when it comes to investing and compound interest. So don't miss out on your 30s too, get out of debt. And if you really don't want to miss out on your 30s, here's your last reminder to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Again, it really helps out the channel and I would really appreciate it. Thanks. But anyway, your 20s really are for figuring things out. And that includes getting educated in a career you want to pursue and launching your career. So the second goal that you need to accomplish before you turn 30 is to finish your professional schooling or education and have it fully paid off, which we'll talk about in a second. But your 20s are the time to explore and figure out what you enjoy and what you want to do. It's also important that you find something that you can financially support yourself with. And once you figure that out, like I said, you want to finish that education as early as possible, preferably within your 20s. And remember, education does not just mean college. College might be a great option for you, but it also includes things like trade school, doing an apprenticeship, tech certifications, or a certification in another subject. Again, college can be a great option, but it's definitely not the only one. And college can be a bad choice if you end up studying something that's not going to benefit you later in life and make it easy for you to get a job. And honestly, don't stress too much about being locked in your specific major. I think most people have a career pivot at some point in their working life, so it's not like just because you study something in college, you have to do that as a profession for the rest of your life. That's just not the case. But, and I alluded to this a little bit earlier, finishing your education doesn't mean just completing it and getting your degree. You also have to think about paying for it as well. You do not want student loans hanging over your head in your 30s and even later in life. And hopefully you can find a scenario where you can just avoid taking out student loans altogether. I honestly think that in-state public universities are a great choice that are typically very affordable, and sometimes it's possible to cash flow that while you're going to school school so that you don't have to take out student loans. Overall, I would rather go to a public in-state university and graduate debt-free than go to a private school and have hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt right when I graduate. That's just financially crippling. So make sure you look at all of your options. Maybe you start and do your generals at community college and then you transfer to a university. There's options out there and there's more affordable options than I think a lot of people realize. But if you do end up having to take out loans, or if you've already taken out loans, work as hard as you can in your 20s to get those paid off. A lot of people seem to just kind of accept student loans and let them hang around for life, and they will hold you back a lot from getting ahead. So your 20s should be for working hard, sacrificing, living below your means, and then using any money you save to get those paid off. All right, the third goal you need to accomplish before you turn 30 is save an emergency fund that's worth 3 to 6 months of your total expenses. And this advice is pretty straightforward and simple, so we're not going to spend a lot of time here. But there's a lot of benefits to having an emergency fund, and on top of the peace of mind that having a buffer is going to give you, I think that there's another key benefit, which is having an emergency fund allows you to invest properly. The best thing that you can do when you invest is leave your investments alone and let them build and compound. Well, what if you don't have any cash in the bank and your car breaks down, or your roof has a leak, or your AC goes out? Well, you're probably gonna have to sell some of your stock to help pay for those things that come up. And that is probably the easiest way to kill your wealth building journey. So again, it's simple advice, but it's very important that you have a buffer in place so that, again, you can have that peace of mind, but also you can keep your investments growing and doing what they should be doing. But enough of that. Now let's talk about actual investing. This one might sound like a stretch, but as a general rule, I think that you should strive to have at least 1 year worth of your salary invested by the time you turn 30. And that's because investing in your 20s is arguably more important than investing at any other stage of your life. And that's all thanks to compound interest. Compound interest is so powerful in the early stages of your life that even just waiting a few years can have a huge impact on the amount of wealth you're actually able to build. Not in a good way. The sooner you start, the better. So to illustrate that, here's what $1 would be worth at age 65, assuming you invested it at various points early on in your life. At age 20, each dollar you invest will eventually be worth $31.92 by the time you turn 65. If you wait just 5 years, every dollar invested at age 25 will be worth $21.72 by the time you turn 65, which is still a great return, but you've already lost a third of the compounding power than if you had started just 5 years earlier. And at age 30, each dollar you invest will be worth $14.79 by the time you turn 65. And you're reading that correctly. Waiting just 10 years means that your dollars will have less than 1/2 the compounding power that they would have just 10 years earlier. So if that doesn't make it clear enough, I hope that drives home the point that you need to start now. I've already done a video on how much you need to have invested at each age to hit your retirement goals, so make sure you check that out. But accomplishing this goal shows that you've developed the necessary habits to build a strong investment portfolio and that you have the discipline to do it. But if you accomplish that goal fairly early in your 20s, don't stop there. Keep investing and do as much as you can to build wealth. That number is just a baseline. And I'm excited for this next part because it's not always about business. We get to have fun sometimes too. And I think that by the time you turn 30, you need to get out there and do some traveling. You need to go see the world. And I know that's general. So if you're looking for a concrete goal, then try to take at least 3 trips that you've really wanted to go on by the time you've turned 30. If you budget and you want to do more than that, then that's great. But make sure you get out there and see a few places. I personally love to travel, and I spend a decent amount of money every year making sure that happens. I love seeing new places, and I also don't live super close to my immediate family, and those relationships are really important to me. So to me, that's money well spent. And there's 2 main reasons why I recommend getting out and traveling while you're young. Number 1, like we mentioned, your 20s are a very transformative time in your life. You're just getting out of school, you're just entering the workforce, and you're trying to figure out exactly what you want your life to look like. And that's stressful. I found that traveling really just opens up my eyes and allows me to see what's truly important, and it allows me to see the world from a different perspective. It's a good reminder that life could be a lot more simple than we make it out to be. Overall, I think it's a great experience for anyone, but it's really beneficial for those that are still trying to figure out their life. And the second reason I think you should prioritize traveling while you're young is because it's likely that your responsibilities right now are the lowest that they will be for the rest of your life. Once you are further in your career, or you have a spouse, or you have kids, it only gets harder to travel and take that time for yourself. It doesn't mean you'll never be able to travel again, but it will never be as easy to travel as it is right now. So you've got to take advantage of this time. All right, it's unlikely that you'll actually buy your first home in your 20s, but that doesn't mean that you cannot start preparing. Purchasing a home is a big investment. And unless you've got a lot of extra cash that is not for retirement, just sitting to the side, then you're going to need to save up. Now, there's no rush to actually buy a house. You'll know when that time is right for you. I'm just suggesting that you start preparing financially so that when the time comes, you're not caught off guard and you don't miss out on the right opportunity. And some may disagree, but I think it's good to be ready to purchase your first home by the time you're 30. And by ready, I mean two things. Number one, you're going to need a down payment saved up. If you need a $50,000 down payment for the type of house that you're looking for, you should aim to have that by 30. That way, when the time comes, you won't miss out on the right opportunity because you're still in the process of saving. And the second thing you need to do to be ready to purchase a home is to have a credit score of 750 or higher. Staying out of consumer debt will help here, but you are likely going to need to responsibly manage some credit cards to get to this point. You need to take smart actions to build your credit without doing anything that will actually hurt it. A lower credit score can severely limit your options when it's time to buy. A great way to build your credit score when you're in your early 20s is to get a credit card with no annual fee and use it for small purchases. When I turned 18, I got my first credit card and I only used it to fill up my gas tank, and then I would pay off the entire balance every month. And that's the key. You always have to make sure that you pay off your entire balance every month, because if you don't, not only will you be charged interest on whatever carries over, but it will also damage your credit score instead of improving it, which makes the whole point of getting a credit card worthless. As you move through your 20s, consider opening more credit cards to improve your credit utilization, but don't let them actually change your spending habits. Just use them to build your credit history, and remember, pay off your balance in full every month. Bottom line, if you save, plan, and take care of your credit, you'll be really happy you did when that perfect home comes along and you can end up buying it. But that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. Do you disagree with anything I said in this video? Are there any extra goals that you think should be added to the list? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit that like button, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.